midnight of the 28th of March, and um, this upload is for the interest of authorities that are aware of the offences that I'm experiencing in Tralee. Um, as I've mentioned, there's been over 20 to 30 offences perpetrated since I got married and since I gave birth. Um, as I've established, I'm in public accommodation, living peacefully, and being defamed and experiencing false claims as have been occurring since 2016. Um, as I've mentioned, there's also been breaches of privacy and confidentiality, and the Ombudsman have also been made aware of all of these matters. The issue of concern that I have with regard to these occurrences isn't just what I've mentioned with regard to the lack of assistance, acknowledgement, the issue of non efforts to confront and rectify the damages done to women's rights and children's rights and human rights. Um, the other issue that I have a huge concern about is that being in such circumstances for any victim of violations and victimization, um, the issue of concern is the idea of persons, individuals, citizens, guilty culprits, um, moving intentionally within a close proximity of a person that they've been violating, stealing from, defaming, and perpetrating spiritual violence against. So, these, as far as I'm concerned, highlight a very serious issue for not just authorities, but victim support groups. It's serious enough that violations are occurring and offences against a law abiding citizen that has been very seriously wronged. Um, the issue for victim support groups, for authorities and politicians, is safeguarding victims of these culprits that have been harmed mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, and reputational damage as well. So these offences, I'm concerned about being ignored, and I'm concerned about individuals that are perpetrating these offences being in any close proximity to the person that they're violating. As a victim, the safeguards for individuals that have been wronged by culprits guilty of defamation, financial theft, exploitation, property theft, legal violations, etc., all those occurrences and offences that I've experienced. I'm concerned how those culprits are in any way accessible or in any way close in habitual residences to the person that they are targeting. And for the purpose of sharing about this, I'd like it rectified or acknowledged that the safeguards for victims in circumstances like these are very poor. It's bad enough to be experiencing medical incompetence. It's bad enough to have experienced spiritual assault on an ongoing basis since giving birth. But to have this kind of a situation occurring also, where there are individuals perpetrating these offences and still persisting in these offences of vendetta, of hate crime, being facilitated and not being confronted about the trouble they're causing to human rights and the Constitution. So, authorities, you have my victim impact statement, and you know the purpose of protection orders against a collective group of people that are guilty of serious offences like I've experienced. So, I'm just wondering, what protection and safeguarding is there against these kind of people that have no respect for human rights, that have perpetrated retaliatory action against their victim, that they have stolen so much from and that they have damaged, and that have also involved very serious children's rights being violated? I'm wondering um, how are politicians and civil liberty agencies confronting these offences and rectifying these offences? Because my victim impact statement, as I've shared, um, clarifies quite clearly the offences that I've experienced unjustifiably and the defamation that's been involved. So I'm just wondering, how much more suffering does a victim have to endure before there's any more loss and grief inflicted unjustifiably and irrationally? So, as a person that's suffering from medical negligence and other more serious matters like marital desertion and defamation, etc., I'm just wondering, what are the civil liberty agencies, authorities, politicians doing to safeguard victims of these kind of people in society that are endangering innocent life and that are endangering the pillars of society that uphold what rights each citizen, especially law abiding citizens, are entitled to have respected? So I hope that the authorities consider this particular upload quite seriously, and especially local authorities, because as I've mentioned, there's been a very serious vendetta perpetrated in this county, and as well as that, there's been a very serious spiritual assault also, and it's quite tough, as I've mentioned, when there's been such loss and grief, and when there's been such serious physical damage. So, for those culprits that aren't mature enough to behave properly and have any consideration or any respect, I'd appreciate it if the authorities and other relevant individuals or professionals would confront this properly, because this is an ongoing vendetta, and we all know the purpose of a protection order for victims of these kind of offences against retaliatory action and defamation and false claimants. So this is my upload at midnight in public accommodation while I'm being obstructed from my marital home and while I'm experiencing legal violations. So if the relevant individuals and professionals wouldn't mind, as a grown adult and a mature, capable, mentally healthy citizen, um, could I request acknowledgement of the victim impact statement of these offences that are being perpetrated in this vendetta, that include violations of privacy, legal violations, medical violations, etc., etc., in Tralee County, Kerry, Ireland.